Welcome everyone for our training webinar, Soft Solution to Reduce Plastic in Offices and Schools. Today, we will introduce BALTIPLAST project, the plastic waste management platform, the inventory tool to reduce single-use plastic and plastic packaging. Then we have some best practices and lessons learned from the cities of the project. So here is Kati Kauppi from Helsinki, Jolanta Reka from Daugavpils, Eva Kruse from Västerås, and then we have Liga Piesina from Valmiera next to tell us about some lessons learned from their journeys. Then we have Victoria Voronova from Tallinn University of Technology here to introduce the impact of plastic reduction measures on environment and CO2 emissions. And then we have some questions that we go through, and then we will wrap up and close the webinar. We start with a little introduction of our project that is hosting the training video today. We have our Andrea Dobry here to present our BALTIPLAST project and our platform for our educational kits and our solutions. So, Andrea, you can continue with our introduction. And welcome.
Thank you, everybody.
To this webinar. Yes.
Thank you, Rosa, and hello, everybody. My name is Andrea Dobry, and I am here to represent the Hamburg University of Applied Sciences, who is the leader of this project. I can see some familiar faces. Some of you is joining us for the first time, so I will keep the introduction even briefer. This is the second part of our training series. We had the first one already last week, so just a short introduction to the background of the project for those who are here for the first time. Without repeating myself, just to give a background of why we are here in the room today, you are going to hear many details about the soft solution specifically today. The name of the project is BALTIPLAST, and probably it's not a surprise that we are working on the reduction of plastic consumption in the region. We focus specifically on single-use plastics, as these are approximately half of the amount of the produced plastic at Europe level, and also when we look at the beach litter in the region, approximately 70% is coming from single-use items. And due to the nature of the Baltic Sea, which is an almost closed sea, it's really important that the neighbor countries come together to tackle this issue. You can see on this small map on the right-hand side that we have almost all the neighboring countries as part of this consortium. We have a total of 18 partner organizations and also 6 associates. And looking at the background of the partners, you can see that we really represent different areas. So we have partner universities, we also have some municipalities, NGOs, and so on. And this is really important in this project so that we can make sure that we represent everybody's challenges, points of view, and we really go to the roots of the issues. Within this project, we are trying to tackle this overall objective of reduction of plastic consumption by implementing 4 specific steps. On one hand side, we are developing strategies and legal frameworks. This is something that we have presented already last week. Then we are also equipping our municipalities and end users in general with practical tools. This is the so-called soft solutions, which we are going to cover today, where we don't need a lot of investment, but only some small adjustments in your day-to-day activities in order to achieve those big changes that we are going to present later on today. We also work together with households, so we are running a massive awareness raising campaign on different social media platforms. And we also create some materials, and then we created an adapted tool for the households because a different approach is needed when we speak about private inhabitants. And in a project, we do understand and admit that in some areas we can achieve reduction, but complete elimination of plastic is not possible. So this is not something that we are trying to convince you to attempt in your day-to-day life. So the final and fourth area where we are intervening with this project is how to deal with the post-consumer plastic waste. We do understand that some plastic waste is going to be produced, and it's really important that we are helping the municipalities to find proper solutions to address this. The project has started in 2023. We are now in the final year of the implementation, and we are focusing on transferring all the knowledge, the best practices, everything that we managed to discover during these 2.5 years. So this is why we are here today in the room, and I would like to take a minute to thank everybody, our speakers, and also all the participants who joined us on this Tuesday afternoon. I don't know how is the weather in your countries. In ours is resembling more autumn than June. So we are really appreciative that you dedicated some time to join us here. As I explained, we have these 4 areas where we intervene. Based on this, we are going to create some solutions, and we are going to publish by the end of the month a detailed description of all these solutions. It's going to be a written document available through our website, but because we do understand how busy everybody is, we also want to make this user-friendly. So we made sure to break down everything in bite sizes and implemented them on the BALTIPLAST platform that we are launching today. And we would like to show it to you, invite you to interact with it, and also to head there and discover some of our content. And because sometimes listening to a speaker can be a bit boresome during an online meeting, we have created an introductory video for you to spice things up a little bit. So I will not spoil the surprise, and yes, Rosa, we can move on and show the video, and then I can give you a bit more details afterwards.
Thank you, Andrea. It's always good to hear you, and thank you for the introduction.
Welcome to the BALTIPLAST Plastic Waste Management Platform, your guide to circularity and practical measures to reduce plastic waste. The BALTIPLAST project is all about finding smart, practical solutions to reduce single-use plastics. To guide your journey, we've created this platform where you can easily explore case studies, our inventory tool, training videos, and more. Tackle the issue of plastic waste through our educational kit containing tested solutions tailored to your needs. Learn about strategic soft and technical solutions that will support your way to plastic reduction. Get ahead on designing your plastic reduction strategy on a municipal level. Discover practical tools to support day-to-day environmental practices in municipalities. Explore targeted measures to reduce plastic use, whether you're a school, a business, or a public institution. Learn how to optimize post-consumer plastic sorting and take steps toward advancing your local recycling processes. And implement actionable steps at home toward a plastic-free everyday life. Visit the collection of resources we've created to deepen your knowledge, tailored to your needs and interests. Begin by registering on the platform, provide your basic information, and get ready to dive in, explore, and shape your future in a more sustainable and circular economy with less plastic. Start your journey today.
Thank you, Rosa, for playing a video. I dropped the link to the online environment where you can find the platform in the chat already. So we would like to invite everybody to join us on a short exercise to discover this online environment. And also on this slide, you have a summary of the different steps, how to gain access. Yes, and as you could see from the video itself, we created the platform, we structured the platform based on those solutions that I mentioned earlier, and there is information for all the target groups. So regardless if you're a municipality, a private household, or a school, there is something for you to discover and interact with. We also created educational materials specially designed for municipalities, as we understand that there is a need for this, and municipalities do have a lot of power in their hands to drive this change. We are going to hear some nice examples also today, and we had many examples from last week, in the last week's training on how to shape strategic documents. And yeah, you can already head to the platform, discover the different sections. And if we go to the next slide, I can also share with you where you can find me or my team if you need help at later point. So if something doesn't make sense or you are struggling with the platform itself, you can contact myself, Andrea Dobry, at the email address on this slide to help to aid your journey. And also important to mention, you have 2 QR codes here. One of them, the bottom one, is leading to our LinkedIn channel, where we are always posting updates about events, important results, milestones achieved in the project. So I would like to strongly encourage everybody to scan the QR code and please follow us on LinkedIn to make sure you are not missing any of the important updates that we are preparing for you in the future. Also, our website has many news articles and some reports on cities, for example, how to tackle this issue of single-use plastic pollution in events. We also have a section on the website where we are promoting our in-person or online events. So maybe if you are from a different country, but you would like to meet our team, you can join one of the events, one of the local action days that we are hosting in this final year of the project. And maybe just a final idea so that you have time to comfortably scan the QR code before we move on. On our social media platform, you can also find information about our awareness raising campaign. We are posting relevant topics each month related to plastics, health issues, environmental pollution, but we also have some topics related to events like Christmas or Easter, for example, celebrations in general, or how to have a more sustainable summer trip was our latest post. We also cover how to promote sustainable tourism, so there is a vast variety of information that you can find out during following our awareness raising campaign. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Andrea, for the presentation and also showing the platform. Good afternoon on my behalf as well. My name is Katri Lehtinen, and I was supposed to be moderating this webinar already from the beginning, but I had some technical hiccups with Zoom. But now everything seems to be working fine, so we can continue with the important topic and the main topic of the webinar on the BALTIPLAST project. But as said, and as you can see also on the slide here, next we have Johanna Gebken to present us with the inventory tool to reduce the single-use plastic and plastic packaging that has been now developed during and within the BALTIPLAST project. So Johanna, welcome.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone from my side as well. I am actually representing a trio here, so I don't want to take the fame all for myself, because we have been on the practical side of actual plastic reduction. We have been working with 3 different institutions, namely with Eva Kruse from Västerås City, who you will hear again later today, and then also with Heidrun Famler from BEF Germany. And myself, I am representing Plastic Free City, another organization from Germany. And yes, we have, thanks to BALTIPLAST, been able to really develop and refine a tool to measurably reduce single-use plastics and make this project of plastic production really tangible and measurable, which is, as you will know from your own organization, we only measure, or we only manage what we measure. So yeah, this is what we set out to, and we have some really nice results to share with you. So let's dive into it. To go one step back and think about, well, is there actually really a case? No, you can move on. Is there actually a case for reducing plastics at all? I mean, of course, we all know, if you take one step further, about the ecological responsibility, we all know that plastics is bad, but there are actually a few other reasons. So for the next step, you can see that for the organizations that actually participated in this whole inventory process, that making your own location remain attractive for both employees, for infrastructure, is really important. And that's also why the single-use plastics aspect comes in here quite a lot. As a next step, we also saw that actually, well, there are more and more laws out there, more and more regulations out there, more and more suppliers that actually want that you are living up to things. So this is also a thing that has really been gaining more and more importance and will gain more and more importance. Following that, we also have increasing disposal costs, because the higher volume we have, the less recycled or recyclable materials that we waste, the higher our costs will be. And as a last point here, there are, especially that we noticed during the COVID times, supply shortages are really becoming relevant as well. So it is really worthwhile to think about supply chains, and with that also single-use plastics. All right, let's move on. The thing is, if we start thinking about how do we actually reduce single-use plastics, well, where do we even start? I mean, we've all heard about these straws because they were very popular in social media. But beyond straws, beyond plastic bags, what can we actually do? And we thought that, well, as with money, actually, we can only really, well, efficiently reduce our spending, our consumption, if we actually know our consumption patterns. And this is where our little cycle starts, if you go one step further. Exactly, we do this. We account for our individual consumption. And in a second step, we actually can see very well, okay, well, where are our pain points? Where are our leverage points? Where do we consume the most single-use plastics? And then in the next step, further on, we can implement really targeted measures for reduction. And then we can repeat the cycle if we want. Exactly. And then in the next step, the thing is, well, we thought there are actually no accounting systems for single-use plastics. It's always easy to, I don't know, save money, because you can look at your bank account, at your organization's bank account, and see, well, this is the status quo, this is what we're spending. But the thing is, for single-use plastics, there is no such thing. And this is why we came up with the inventory tool, which I'm going to dive a bit more into now in the next step. Exactly, because for accounting for single-use plastics, we actually can look at three main areas in an organization, which is, as a first step, one more, please. Exactly. We can look at our purchasing lists. So what actually comes in, what are our bills, what kind of plastic products can we identify there? Then, if we are a company that is actually producing things, that is, of course, way easier because we have more control of it. And then we can also have a look at our bins and see what ends up actually being wasted, literally. Exactly. This is more or less how it works. In practice, we put this into a very simple Excel-based tool that really looks at different business or organizational areas of an organization, and really scales up the consumption. Of course, we're not going to monitor our consumption for a whole year, but over a limited time frame. And then this tool scales it up to an annual mass in kilograms or tons. The good thing is that since, the more and more organizations are actually joining the network, the less has actually to be done or to be recorded, because there is really a growing database of products, of plastic products that are already in the tool. And also, we are not reinventing the wheel every time, because we have had a lot of members that have already conducted the inventory. So there are a lot of nice tried and tested recommendation for alternatives to the single-use plastics products. Exactly. And then if we move on, the thing is, how do we actually reduce then? We found out, okay, we are consuming plastics in this and this area. How do we actually go about reducing and not maybe, actually opting for worse alternatives in the end? Our solutions, if you go one step further, are actually based within the first tier of this waste hierarchy, which a few of you might have heard about. So it basically categorizes choices of, well, mostly how can we do, or how can we go about best with our waste. It categorizes this into this nice little hierarchy, and of course prioritizing anything that can avoid material use in the first place. So wherever we can kind of rethink, reduce and reuse our processes, this is actually beneficial, or most beneficial for you as an organization as well. It often saves money even, and also most beneficial, of course, for the environment as well. Exactly. If we go one step further and look actually at some best practices, because as of now, this has been a bit untangible. Here we already have a sneak peek into what this is about, namely about flower pots. And we are looking at one of the companies in our network, which is Hamburg's Graveyards. If you go one step further, exactly, and another. Because as you can imagine, there are a lot of flower pots at a graveyard, of course. And if we go another step further, this graveyard was actually thinking, well, you know, we have all these single-use pots, they are being thrown out again after one use. Can't we just ask our suppliers to take them back? And this replier said, okay, well, actually, if we have to take them back, we might as well refill them. And this, resulted in this really nice reuse and refill system, because actually it was found out that 90% of the pots could actually be reused. So by rethinking this whole project, they actually saved about 1.5 tons of plastics per year. Exactly. Another example, if we move on, is the Radisson Blu Hotel in Rostock. Of course, they get a lot of food deliveries on these Euro pallets, and a lot of them are wrapped in a lot of layers of this transparent foil. And they also asked their suppliers, okay, can we maybe do this in a different way? They actually set a bit of a deadline on them and said, okay, you have three attempts to actually make this change. And otherwise, maybe we have to look for a new supplier. Turned out the pressure worked, because the solution that they came up with was this nice rolling containers. And since then, the hotel is actually saving a huge amount just from this single measures as well. So just 300 kilograms of or 2 pallets per day that they save per year. Just to give you a little bit of an overview of how this might look like in practice before we actually dive into the BALTIPLAST examples that we we'll talk about later. And then I would like to really invite you to think about your own office for a bit if we before we go on. So if we say your organization has 100 employees, then we will have bins probably under each desk. And at the end of the day, if we're honest, what is in these bins? There is maybe a Post-it and a banana peel or something. And what happens then? The cleaning staff takes the bin or takes the bag and puts it with these 2 items into a bigger plastic bag. The question is, how much plastics does this consume every day? Or rather summed up to a year. If we go further, we will find out. It is 255 kilograms per year. And since this is a bit difficult to imagine how much this actually is, it is 6 of these huge rolling containers. I guess you all know how they look like. So this would be just, with this single-use plastic bag under one desk for 100 employees over a year. So maybe you just briefly calculated how much that would be for your organization. And just an invitation to think about really, really simple, low barrier measures that are actually easy to be implemented. And with that, if we move on, this is just a warm invitation to join the BALTIPLAST network. On the next slide, you will also find a QR code for signing up for our monthly consultation that we offer until the end of the year as part of the BALTIPLAST project of the support. And we would love to see you there. Otherwise, my email is on the screen. Please feel free to reach out, and happy for any messages. Thank you.
Thank you, Johanna, for your presentation, also showing us the tool that you have developed within the project. And to all the participants, we will have the section for the questions at the end of the agenda. So if you have any, just wait for a couple of more minutes here or a bit more time, and then you can go and ask them ahead. But as the saying goes, you can't manage what you don't measure. And as we just learned, this tool helps the organizations and your work environment as well to map your organization's plastic use, identify leverage point for reduction, also plan the data-driven changes. But then moving on, or actually continuing with the theme of best practices, but now from the municipalities that are the BALTIPLAST project partners. And the first one to present their best practices is Kati Kauppi, a project manager from the city of Helsinki.
Hello. Thank you, Katri. I'm very happy to present our case example from the city of Helsinki, representing a municipality. My name is Kati Kauppi. I work for the city of Helsinki as a project manager in the BALTIPLAST project. You can go forward. I will quickly go through how this soft solution kind of what's the role in these municipalities regarding the SUP reductions. We often have different goals or programs addressing sustainability, and that's what we are used to work with. These are the strategic frameworks, something that we talked about last week. But these softer solutions are very important to engage employees and to engage the office and administration facilities in our daily work life, to see how our own home nest look like, what can we do better, how are we acting? Are we acting such as the strategies, for example, demand? So how do we implement this kind of way of operating, as Johanna was just telling us about? It depends a lot of different factors. For example, the organization size. I'm representing a bigger organization. The city of Helsinki has about 37,000 employees. So we are a very big and structured organization, but it might look quite different if you are a smaller city or even just a smaller part of the city organization. And also the workplace culture and working practices might differ from organization to another. So you need to find the best approach for your organization. And yes, you can go to the next slide. Just quickly going through what we did here. We did the plastic waste inventory in one of our administration buildings. In the moody picture there, we have the urban environment building. It's the home base is the office for about 2,000 employees. We're working hybrid, so not all of us are working here every day. But we wanted to see what kind of plastic waste we do produce within our office spaces. So we did the inventory based on the waste bins. So we went through all of our plastic waste bins, but also other sorted waste to see if there was some plastics in the wrong bins. But our main findings was actually something that Johanna was just talking about. So the highest consumption was in garbage bags. Exactly how she explained, we have many waste bins here for all sorts of waste. So we have the plastic waste, and we have the mixed waste and bio waste, and all of those all around the office area, and they are emptied multiple times a day. So when you think of how many waste bags we go through one day, we will go through them in a year for probably hundreds of kilograms. And also food packaging is very big, something that we all do. We take away lunches or buy food from the stores, and then that's just something that is very difficult to actually change, but it's a very important part of this. But also we found out that all plastic waste was not correctly separated, so that was something that we need to work on as just us as individuals. You can go to the next slide. Yes. Oh, the text is kind of crooked here, but a few best practices. Just find the best approach for your way of operating this kind of inventory. The first one is something that I would recommend for smaller work communities or smaller organizations. So conduct this survey together with your colleagues. You can make this as a joint project where you, for example, sort all of your plastics in designated bins together, and you can that way you can work together with this. But then in our case, it would be very important to collaborate with the cleaning services, for example, just because they do empty the bins so many times a day, and we need to somehow find a way to gather all of the plastic waste in one place so we can find out what the consumption actually really is. But these are just two examples on how you can conduct this kind of project. But also remember to communicate and be informative and be motivating. You can host meetings, have these short or even longer informational webinars to kind of explain the background for all of your colleagues before, during, and after the whole process. So you need to also share the results just so that the colleagues feel that their actions actually matter. And then here we have a picture of one of our campaigns we did. We have these seagull mascots within the city working for the litter control action plan, and we collaborated with them to kind of make this whole project very visible for our co-workers. Just make it fun, make it engaging, so the colleagues are interested. And lessons learned, this kind of change, this kind of almost behavioral change, it takes time in these large organizations. We might be filled with hierarchy or bureaucracy, and they're very important to manage the organization, but they also set a challenge in these kind of solutions. So we might be focused in the strategies and programs, and we need to find the personal motivation to make a difference in our behavioral change within the city or within the organization and within our daily practices that we do here. But also with these kind of processes, just finding information and key colleagues, that might be time consuming. So just prepare some time, even though the inventory itself can take only a few days, but the process itself might take longer time. And also, this is just very important part of this strategic development as well. So there's a lot of synergies. When we know what we are consuming, we can also use that information for strategic development. For example, we can, with the help of that information, we can update our cleaning service contracts or procurement criteria, or for example, we can set different quantitative or monitored reduction goals for plastics. So I think that there's a lot of other benefits to this as well, not only to see what we are doing as individual employees, but also individual employees, but also as a bigger organization with different strategies. I think this was my last slide, so maybe we can move on to our next examples.
Thank you. And thank you, Kati, also for sharing the lessons learned. And I think that these are all valuable takeaways, for any municipality to reduce the single-use plastics in a scalable and also the data-informed way, doing the measuring and doing the inventories. But then next, we turn our attention to the business sector with insights from the Daugavpils municipality, and I welcome Jolanta Rega to share their experiences.
Thank you, Katri. Hello, everybody. My name is Jolanta, and I'm International Project Manager and BALTIPLAST Project Manager in Daugavpils municipality. Daugavpils is the second largest city in Latvia, and our approach when we knew that we had to involve businesses into the piloting of this tool produced within BALTIPLAST project, our first idea was to get an opportunity for everybody to join. So we started with publishing some press releases, and they were published on municipality website and some local websites. But our lesson learned was that nobody, probably somebody reads it, but we are also overwhelmed with other activities. So rarely somebody considers joining an additional project. Maybe if for somebody it would be like really personal interest, maybe it can work. But in general, it didn't work for us. But so then we moved on to speaking with businesses directly, just calling the managers and telling them about the activity and a possibility to learn something, to see. And as we positioned it as an opportunity to, first of all, understand how much plastics they produce within their offices, as the like a starting point, as we talked a lot, that we cannot change anything before we understand what is the current situation. So we decided to involve those companies that have some municipal capital, quite large companies within Daugavpils, and those were 4 that were willing to join. One is supplying water to the city, centralized water system. One is about heating system. The other one is providing public transport for the city. And the 4th one is like utility services that are managing buildings. But they decided to focus on their offices. So, and the amount of administrative workers varied from 10 to 40, if I'm not mistaken. So there's different kind of offices. And we understood that the best practice for us was also involving the expert of BALTIPLAST project, who went to the offices, explained everything and talked with people, because just sending over the information over the email also was not productive. So talking and meeting, personal interest and personal connection is what has proven to be the most successful one. So people were invited to just put some cardboard within their kitchens or offices, print out BALTIPLAST logo, as you see on the photo on the left side. And they, for 2 weeks, I guess, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, it was 2 weeks, they placed all the plastics separately. Then our expert came into the office and helped to weight it and put all the information into tools. So we really added a lot of assistance for this process. And the results were surprising, but actually for us, it was not that much garbage bins, but the largest amount of plastics contained from the food packaging and for takeaway food, because a lot of, especially those offices that are located a bit remotely from the center of the city, so they rarely go out to eat something, but they order a lot of food for the office. So there was a lot of plastics in this, and this was a realization for most of them. Then I want to mention one very good practice within this process, which you can see in the photo in the middle. So we organized local seminars. In each of the businesses involved, our expert from the project came and talked about the BALTIPLAST project and about waste in general in the world, in Europe, in Baltic Sea region, and in Latvia. And then we invited somebody from the operator, local waste operator, who explained all the local details of how we can recycle properly, how we can sort, what are the possibilities to, for example, when you change the tires on your car, where to put them. Of course, it's not like we went a bit outside the plastics, but we thought it to be really good opportunity. And the best part was there were so many questions. People really got an opportunity to ask all of them. They were all answered. And almost everybody told, but where is this information? Why don't we see this information online? But I can just go on now and show like 15 places where it can be found on different websites and different materials, but it not always reaches the people. So it was really, really great that we could go to the people and give them opportunity to answer all their questions. And this was a moment for them to prepare their reduction plan. So this way they were really into the topic. They thought, they also saw what kind of plastics they have in their waste in the office. So they decided how they can reduce it. And it was this inventory tool, I think, makes it also feel a little bit like sport, like a competition where you are in competition with yourself, which might be a good thing. It might be a minus when we think that after the second part of inventory, they can just go back to their old habits. But I'm sure that at least not 100% it happened. So there was a reduction and quite good one. So the results are good, yeah. And then we learned that we still need, for the reaching project results, we need to do the inventory at least in one more business. And then we thought about the private companies that and then we talked with the Concentrix company, which is a global company. So we thought that sustainability and circular economy might be on their agenda. And we were right. They were really open to participate in the inventory. They have a huge staff of 400 people and who work day and night shifts. So our expert had to go there every day to weigh all the plastics, just because it would be too much if we collect even for 2 days then. And same we did with the seminar, same success in that area. And yeah, when of course, when the topic is already on the agenda of the company and when they are, when the heads of the company are interested, then the results are also quite good. And they told me that our piloting action inspired them to properly add all the recycling bins everywhere, and to also get some information put in the office kitchens about using plastics less. So yeah, they were kind of really inspired from this inventory tool piloting, I think. Yeah, so I really agree with Kati about personal motivation in everywhere we did the inventory, and not just in the businesses, but in the municipality, in schools. There always had to be some enthusiastic person who was really like motivating then others, because this is how we really can start reaching the results. Well, that's it from my side, I guess.
Thank you, Jolanta, for the presentation and also share the best practices that you had in Latvia. And I think that this case shows us like the pivotal role that the governments and like local municipalities can have when they're activating, but then also encouraging the business community in plastic reduction. And this brings on the touch of when we put the emphasis on the personalized partnerships, and we have those motivated people in the center, you know, guiding us through but also include the hands-on learning on the process. So we actually go to the offices and we show what can be done in regards to the plastic reduction. So thank you, Jolanta. And then if we move on to the next slide, and our next best practice, and this one takes us to Sweden and specifically to the city of municipality of Västerås. So I welcome Eva Cruz to share us about their learnings and best practices within the educational and school sector.
Yes, thank you very much. Very nice to see all of you. My name is Eva Cruz, and as Katri said, I'm from the city of Västerås in Sweden, and I'm the project manager of Västerås part in BALTIPLAST, and also the project manager of implementing the Västerås action plan for sustainable handling of plastics. And I'm going to talk a little bit about schools, and not only the experience from Västerås, but from all BALTIPLAST project. Yes, schools without single-use plastics, that is not a quick fix. That is not something you can do just once and then you're ready. It's a journey with a lot of small steps to be taken almost every day. And in schools, large number of children get in contact with single-use plastics daily and plastic packaging. And this is an important issue that needs to be addressed because the children are, of course, our future. They need to learn from the start how to handle plastics. But in the BALTIPLAST project, we have seen that a single-use plastic-free school is achievable and that everyone can contribute. But in schools, we have the children, we have their parents, we have the teachers, and we have the administrations. And we have seen that it is essential to engage all these stakeholders because they have different parts in the school operations. Okay, next slide. Recruiting schools to be part of the plastic reduction has shown that it's very good to start with schools that is already committed, maybe by being part of an eco-school program or something like that. Because they are already from the beginning engaged in the sustainability issues, and they have a bigger interest and they are more easy to reach. But even in these schools, we should also try to find the teachers that are enthusiastic. As the speakers before me has said, it's very good to find those persons who is really interested, who really wants to make a difference. And once we have recruited these eco schools and worked with them, then we get some nice results and we can show the rest of the schools in the municipality that it is doable. We can make a school without single-use plastics. Next slide. But even when we are working with eco schools, there is always challenges that we need to be aware of. There's always a lack of time and human resources. Teachers are overloaded with work and has difficulties to have something extra to do. And they have, at least in Västerås, they have planned what they are going to do maybe half a year ahead. And we also need to support from the school management. If there is a lack of support, it will be a challenge that we need to tackle in some way. And then we must be aware of that it's hard to change behavior. And when it comes to plastic packaging in schools, it is often eating habits of the pupils that we need to change. And this part, it's really hard to do. And in this part, we also need to involve the parents, because the children does not decide by themselves what to take to school to eat. If they bring something from the home, it's often the parents who decide. But it's also hard to change the behavior when it comes to use of plastic consumables in the schools. Teachers tend to stick to their habits, what kind of materials, what kind of plastic folders they like to use. And they are not so very willing to change behavior. And then we have the procurement issues, because procurement processes are slow. And teachers, they must use what is procured, what's in the system. They can't choose all by themselves which materials they want to use. And also we have found some inventory process issues. They need help from someone outside the organization to fill in the tool, to weigh all the items and so on. Okay, next slide. But we also have the success factors. And as I said, to find the eco schools or schools with local commitment to do something about the sustainability, that's a success factor. And collaboration with external partners is also something that teachers and schools and pupils like. It's always nice when there comes an expert from outside the school, and in Västerås that could be me coming out to the school as a plastic expert and telling the pupils about plastics and conduct a workshop or something like that. And that also means that the teachers doesn't have to spend so much time in planning everything and learning everything, if someone can come external and help them. And schools also need supportive infrastructure. They need to have sorting bins in the schools, so it's possible to sort the different plastics and carbon and so on. But when we have all these parts in the place, the BALTIPLAST project has shown that it is possible to reduce plastic in schools. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Eva, for sharing your experiences with us with the educational sector. And I think it's true that reducing the plastic in school is not a quick win, but with committed educators and what we just saw, and you were talking about the creative student engagement and new kind of ways of doing, also the supportive infrastructure, the progress is more than plausible. Thank you again. And then if we can have the next slide. And we will be moving on to the last presentation of the best practices, and Liga Biesina from Valmiera municipality will tell us about their best practices and also green initiatives.
Yeah, thank you very much. And hello, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to share also our best practice gain during the project BALTIPLAST, namely the Green Events Initiative in Valmiera City Festival 2024. Valmiera City Festival is the largest festival municipal event organized by our municipality, and as the project had municipalities as one of the target groups where we were making the plastic inventory and plastic waste audit, also green events are part of it. Maybe we can go to the next slide, please. Valmiera municipality has had green initiatives already before. We have been searching for solutions how to offer free of charge water and to reduce the need for plastic water bottles. Also previously, we have been considering free public transport. We are also sorted waste bins offered during our city festivals already before. Large communication has been made also to encourage sustainable mobility during the city festivals. But where we found the greatest impact on the environment organized during the organization of the city festival was the waste management. And the event is being organized by our cultural board, and they when we came with the information that the project offers opportunities also to organize, testing out the good practices in waste management also for our events organization, we received very open hearts and very eager colleagues to try this initiative out and to do something with it, because they said waste was really something that we have been dealing with previously, and this is the biggest problem with which we would like to deal already some years for several years. So concluding what has been said before by the other colleagues of the project, the success factor for having the result very good also for this event was that there were motivated people who really wanted to do something with the challenge, which was our cultural board. Let's go to the next slide, please. To have this initiative properly planned, we also prepared an action plan. We have had the previous experiences. We knew what was the waste generated in the previous municipal events, what was the amount of the events, and also what was approximately the share of different kind of waste fractions, what kind of materials occurred. And based on this and in communication with our cultural board, we prepared an action plan, what is necessary to do with it. We saw that there is a great challenge, the communication with two parties involved. The one party was our catering service providers, who were suspicious regarding, who might have, or we suppose they will be suspicious regarding this initiative because it will request a system change. And also we saw that there is a great challenge, the visitors of the event, because they also need lots of information, or they need to be prepared that this time the event will be organized in a different, the catering service in the event will be offered in a different manner than before. And therefore these challenges were also considered within the action plan. And I will tell you in the next slides what turned out at the end. Please, let's go to the next slide. Before we introduced the deposit system, we organized firstly a general meeting with our catering service providers, where they said what they see, and where they also approved that they will be ready to go for this system change in catering service if we will support them with the communication. And then we agreed, of course, to this, and this was like a green light that let's do it. And at the end, we found also a service provider who at that time was ready to offer a deposit system for cups. We decided to do it step by step. We didn't go for complete system of deposit dishes and cups and cutlery, but we started firstly with the cups only. And with introduction of the deposit system, we managed to replace approximately 30,000 of single-use plastic cups to a deposit cups. There were 3 return points. We, in our catering, in the places where the catering service was offered, you can see there is one picture with this service point, how it looked like. people could bring the cups back there. They were given out when they purchased the drink. They had to give out pay the deposit money to the catering service provider, and then when the glass was empty, they could either refill it at any of the catering service providers, or if they wanted to get rid of this glass, they could bring it back to this deposit point, and then they received the money back. And at the end, the money was exchanged between the deposit service provider and the catering service providers. In order to make this all happen, we also organized educational training to the catering service providers, those who were really participants of our city festival last year. And they were contacted each separately by the company who was also offering the deposit cup service, and they were explaining to each of them why is the system necessary as such, how the system will function, that each of them is introduced and knows the details, and also what will be the money system, that the deposit money system within. And also educational communication campaign was given to the festival visitors. The deposit service provider was offering the visual communication posters to the festival visitors, and also giving face-to-face information to the visitors at these deposit points. But also we as a municipality were having our own campaign and information on our social media, and also in our web pages, in informative materials that are printed materials. And also there was even a video about how the system is functioning shown on the main stage screen for some time. Let's go to the next slide, please. In addition to this particular educational campaign, we also had an informative exhibition about plastics in our next to one of our catering service places, where informative stands about plastics as such were put, where education about the impacts of plastics and on the environment and on the health were presented. There was information about our BALTIPLAST diet campaign given, which is also one of the activities of the BALTIPLAST project, and also information about the deposit system. Next slide, please. This information, this exhibition was also added to a live statistics activity, which was even one more additional involvement campaign for some 4 hours of the city festival Saturday. We were standing there by talking to the visitors and inviting them to answer different questions regarding environmental sustainability performed by municipality related to the organization of green events, and also particularly regarding this deposit system. So this was one more push that was done in parallel. And we found out that this idea of these additional activities, namely the live statistics activity and also the educational exhibition in parallel, were also a good way how to gain more attention to these issues. So we are completing and continuing these activities also this year in the other events organized, other city festivals organized by our municipality and other places. So we are continuing it this year in Valmiera and also 7 more places within our region. let's go to one more slide. We also were learning from Tallinn example and in Valmiera City Festival, because we did this for the very first time. We also tried out the initiative of green ambassadors. Namely, there were 2 volunteer girls who were working for two evenings of our city festival. This city festival is a 3-day long event. And they were talking to our visitors at the places where the waste sorting is taking place. And they were explaining how to do the waste sorting properly. They were instructed if there is a need to give some information related to festival environmental sustainability, then they were able to answer all these questions. And also these ladies were instructed about how the deposit system works. So also they were an additional support to this new system. Yes, and then I think there is one more slide, which is the slide regarding conclusions. Having this this system in place and having this extensive educational campaign in parallel, the result was that we really managed to save 29%, to reduce for 29% the amount of waste that was generated during our city festival last year compared to the year 2023. We also really admit that communication with caterers was really crucial to ensure that the process was going smoothly, and that each of the involved parties were really eager and open to cooperate and to be ready to implement the new system change. And we also see that last year was just the kickstart, and we are really working on the system to improve it, and that repetition of the actions brings good results. No, yeah, and that's it from our side. Thank you.
Thank you, Liika, for sharing how the municipal principles of the plastic reduction can be applied also outside of the offices and outside of the municipal institutions and into more of the community events and also the public life. So now, after hearing from the several cities on how the plastic reduction could be done and can be done, we now turn to an equally critical question, which is about what is the impact of these measures and what impact do they actually have. And to guide us through this, we are joined by Victoria Voronova from the Tallinn University of Technology.
Yes, hello everybody. Thank you very much, Katri, for inviting me to share our experience from the BALTIPLAST project. So my name is Victoria Voronova. I represent Tallinn University of Technology, TalTech. And our role in this particular project was to calculate environmental impact from all pilots, I mean, including these nicely presented businesses, municipalities, schools, and green events. So, and maybe just one good question probably arise to all of us, how to measure the impact, especially when we speak about plastic reductions. And actually, to start with, we have to define first types of the impact to consider. For example, reduce the waste. I think now, today, we have seen a lot of nice examples, actually, how to reduce the waste. And again, here we speak mostly about the plastic reductions. Then, for example, the second point could be that nowadays it's very popular to calculate also carbon footprint, meaning evaluate greenhouse gas emissions and their impact to warming our climate and to the climate change category. If this is the purpose, then of course the risk could be different methodology considered. Resource savings, if it's a purpose, for example, calculate the resources, understand the resources, how much we can save in that. Pollution avoidance, again, if we turn to plastics, then for example, how minimize the amount of plastics which is entering to the water bodies, to the soils, maybe that end up in the landfills, because the period of degradation of plastic is really, really long. Or biodiversity impact, meaning this toxicological impact or reduction of harm to marine life, freshwater bodies and soils. Next slide, please. Yes, and therefore for that actually could be used different tools. Of course, I will not show here the long range of the tools, but will stop on two most commonly used tools nowadays. I hope all of you have heard about them. The first called life cycle assessment tool, which is used mainly environmental impact across the full life cycle of any product or process and includes stages like raw material extraction, transportation, production, use, and end of life. And under end of life, we can also include reuse, recycling, and disposal options. And there is the simpler option of life cycle assessment called product carbon footprint, which actually calculate the amount only of greenhouse gases. I hope all of you know what are the greenhouse gases are. The main greenhouse gas is carbon dioxide, yes, and particularly when we calculate the carbon footprint, we're calculating all greenhouse gases in carbon dioxide equivalent or CO2 equivalents, which mean that carbon dioxide in this particular category assigned as a reference substance, and all other greenhouse gas emissions is calculated based on that. And what are these other greenhouse gases? Mainly it's methane and nitrous oxide, and also some chlorofluorocarbons at a lesser extent. Next slide, please. And today I would like to show the results of our carbon footprint calculations, which we have done for municipalities, businesses, and some schools. And in this particular BALTIPLAST project, we have selected a product carbon footprint as methodological approach. And of course, we need to simplify it, meaning that we cannot apply for all pilots, let's say, this comprehensive approach. And we simplify it in a way that we selected to evaluate only the environmental impact or carbon footprint from production of plastic materials or types and include disposal options. I mean, meaning that if it's recycled, incinerated, or landfilled. And for calculation, we used the most appropriate methodology based on Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change, who actually developed the good equations for calculations and the emission factor database for calculation of carbon footprint specifically. And of course, also we used European average emission factors as far as we have data collected from different countries in the Baltic Sea region. Next. Yeah, and for data collection in BALTIPLAST project, we follow it actually, we used BALTIPLAST plastic inventory tool, which was nicely presented by Johanna today. And we collected data about the organization itself, types of the plastic product used, amount of products, and what was for us important to understand what was the types of plastic material. For example, if it's a product of which material it was made, such as high density polyethylene or polypropylene or polyester or any other. And then we asked also questions regarding how the product after the use was disposed. And of course, as BALTIPLAST tool was already presented, I think there is also was possibility to insert data before that we evaluated, and then we calculated after the reduction measures were implemented to see and to understand how actually the reduction measures what kind of impact reduction measures had to carbon footprint. And I have here actually 4 examples from different organizations. The first is Daugavpils municipality and Daugavpils businesses. And I think that Jolanta was presented very great what they did exactly there. And I think they did a great job. And actually in terms of carbon footprint, they received very, very good results in comparison also with other countries. So, and in Daugavpils municipality, actually, at least what data we have collected through BALTIPLAST inventory tool, They were focusing on administration office reduction, where they reduced the use of a documents folder by 53% and also avoided the use of glue corks, for example. And also they're focusing on food and drinks. They tried to avoid the use of packing places, takeaway food packaging. And I think this takeaway food packaging was also the big problem in other companies, not only municipalities, even in businesses. Also the use of bags, I mean plastic bags here, and in general, they achieved quite nice reduction percent, as you can see here. Next, please, slide. Yeah, and after the calculations, we found that reduction measures were, as you can see here by numbers, it was calculated in total and then per employee, and it was in about 66% if we compare the result before and after. And I think that maybe not number is playing the role. What the playing the role, this is the main benefits, which actually this reduction measures and these efforts can bring. And I think Jolanta also mentioned that, but I also have here some points that, of course, the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions due to the reducing in plastic, due to reducing the behavior is very important. However, the second point also to highlight that it helps lower municipal waste volumes and of course be more focusing on or minimizing the pressure on waste collection and disposal system. And as I mentioned, this is also the changes in behavior among the employees. And of course, as municipality, it very like showing up, it strengthens the municipality role as a leader and showing like they are following circular economy principles and implementing the climate resilience practicing in their daily life activities, which is really, really, I think, amazing example. Next slide, please. And Daugavpils businesses, this is again Latvia example, because I think they did amazing job also for in a business scale. It was 5 businesses included to the evaluation. Next slide, please. And as you can see here, again, it's a bit summarized between all the businesses. These reductions focused on food and drinks, then some stationary office suppliers, office supplies, and also, for example, some cartridges for printers, and also the sanitary and cleaning, including this reduction in plastic bags, washing detergent packaging specifically, and plastic earbuds, which were eliminated even for one company to 100%. Next slide, please. So, and for businesses, as you can see, actually, they achieved also amazing results. It's about 56% of reductions in CO2 equivalents again. Oh, sorry, here is in percentage. I mean, in equivalence, you can see also in the left and after reduction in the green screens. But also to do that, they probably were able, we calculated some cost savings for that. And it also actually showed remarkable results on our opinion. It's about 38%. And of course, what is important, again, to bring maybe some benefits also for the company doing this daily life or implementing this daily life activities for plastic reduction, such as extending product lifespan for different items again, and probably which gives possibility to save the cost of purchasing for replacement. And then important was selection of plastic-free alternatives and reusable packaging alternatives, which of course have a direct impact to the environment or decreasing the carbon footprint. And of course, maybe one last point for benefits also that these measures and these awareness-raising campaigns can also bring to increased staff satisfaction, that they are still involved in such sustainability activities and initiatives. And also one good example came to us from Västerås, from schools, where we evaluated not only the classroom activities, and I think Eva was also presented quite nicely, what they did in the schools. So the next, please, slide. And here we have examples of the administration, office management, and in Västerås schools it was really interesting results, because in some cases, as you can see here in office supplies, they did some increase, but for some specific items they did full elimination, like 100%. Therefore, this average reductions was in around from 16 up to 35% for different items. However, also they work with the cleaning and hygiene sector. For example, trying to use like or eliminate some items which use the plastics, and again try to remove or eliminate quite in a larger extent. So next slide, please. Yeah, and their CO2 reduction was also quite nice in numbers. It was about 18%. Now here also in this slide, you can see what are the main measures that in Västerås schools were implemented. Next slide. Yeah, and last example I would like to bring about Tallinn and green events, and yes, because in Tallinn city and in Estonia, as you know, the Tallinn was the first city in Estonia who actually implemented these regulations to avoid the single-use plastics in larger event. And you know that our events, such as song and dance festivals and celebrations, it includes more than 100,000 participants. And this event was the same when we calculated this use of single-use or ban of single-use plastics. And actually, we collected data separately because we need to collect additional data on the specific dishware which was used for the event. Then we collected data for electricity consumption during the washing phase, yes, and also regarding the machine types which were used, and also about end-of-life treatment after for these cups. And as you can see, we created 3 scenarios. Green one is real situation. This is the reusable cup situation. Scenario 1 is single-use cup because it was not used in real case. And scenario 2, this was kind of developed scenario when instead of reusable cups, we used paper cups, where we calculated actually the impact from paper production. And as you can see, the cups were made out of paper, food packaging out of paper, and cutlery out of bamboo. Next slide, please. So, and as a result, you can see that still we can say that single-use plastic and the use of single-use plastic at the event again have the highest greenhouse gas emission impact, and reusable plastic dishware can decrease this impact from 4 to 5 times, depending on the time of cycles of usage. And we used 100 washing cycles in these calculations, and we have discussed actually with the companies, catering companies, and they told us that in real life, they can use even up to 150 cycles. I mean, for reusable dishware. So it's 100 cycles, it's not limited to that. We took just average, but yeah, it's possible to even increase. What is the problem? The problem is the loss rate. In our case, we calculated from 0.5% the loss rate during each event, but realistically this rate is higher. You know, when we discussed with the companies, they told that it even can reach up to 5%, which is really, really high. Then the lower the rate, then again these numbers will be better for reusable cup. Yeah, and I think that's, yeah, just to the conclusions or bringing maybe general benefits in reducing plastic use in general. First of all, of course, we speak about reduction in plastic waste. Doing that, we will use fewer single-use plastic, polluting less environment, I mean through landfilling, and of course the water bodies. lower greenhouse gas emission. This is the second aspect. And of course, raising and publicly this awareness campaigns and education, what was done in the frame of BALTIPLAST project, we can increase the satisfaction of people, and maybe this understanding how important to use these reusable items, bags, bottles, containers, etc., and prefer these eco-friendly products and packaging to single-use one. So that's all from me. Thank you very much, and you're welcome if you have any questions.
Thank you, Victoria, for sharing your results and also the insights on measuring the impact of different plastic reduction initiatives. And this brings us to the end of the presentations and also to the section where all of the speakers have presented their best practices and also shared the introduction of the BALTIPLAST project. So at this stage, I'd like to thank all of the speakers for the inspiring and practical insights. So for the cities that implemented the soft measures, what were the most effective strategies for engaging the internal staff and get them motivated and also changing the daily behavior in the organizations?
Maybe something that I have found is that the topic is very interesting for many and they want to know more and they want to learn more. So maybe just including a lot of these different ways to spread the awareness and motivate to action is something that I found being super effective. People are interested to hear more and they want to learn more, and they are, I think that they're just, the topic of plastics in general is very hot right now. So I think that increasing the awareness is something that they are looking for.
Thank you, Kati. And what about others? Want to share the best practices on this question and topic?
Yes, a comment from Västerås, maybe. I think competitions and comparisons between the different schools and the different units at the administrations, it makes people interested and it makes them start thinking, oh, why are we doing this and why are you doing that? For example, in the municipal entities where I did the inventory, we had one unit, they had so much takeaway packaging, and the other unit, they had so many ice cream boxes. And talking about that, why do you buy takeaway? Why do you buy ice cream? It creates an interest, and they want to not really compete, but they want to be the best in the class, even when you compare different units at the office. So that's a tip from Västerås, create a competition.
Thank you. And that's also something that I think we have learned within our municipality, like ever you bring in a competition, it's also good to raise the awareness that also Kati was talking about. But Jolanta, please go ahead.
Yeah, competition definitely is the good one. And I would also add the simplification of all the rules and what they have to do. I think at the initial phase, you just have to not overwhelm people with the information, with the details, but just like make it sound very simple, and then you build on that and add the details later.
Thank you. And actually something that I want to bring up when talking about simplification is that in the platform, we also have the section for educational kit that is for the public authorities and municipalities and organizations on the plastic reduction. And there we have been compiling these pilot cases from different municipalities. And with those, we have these infographics, which is just about this. So simplifying sometimes these bigger initiatives that can sound more well, not as simple as to implement them. So we have the infographics and all of those also built in for the educational kit. So those can be also leveraged and used in different organizations on the simplification and raising the awareness. But thank you for the comment, Jolanta. What about others? Any more ideas or insights on this topic? And also, if you have participants who would like to ask any questions, of course, that is always welcome too.
Maybe from our side, some short comment. We have been also discussing quite a lot already for the ways how we could, as municipality, improve our environmental management within the municipality. And we have gained almost similar conclusion what has been said by Jolanta and Eva previously, and by you, Katri, as well. Namely, the more interesting and more appealing you make the proposal, the better results you can receive. But our conclusion regarding this is that you need really dedicated people in the team who have also working time devoted for these kind of activities, because if this is some kind of an extra task for a specialist within the municipality, then this becomes like a difficult or a heavy burden. Therefore, planning the ways how to improve the environmental sustainability requests also that there is a team who deals really with this, and it is a topic for us that we are discussing among ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Liika, and I absolutely agree with that. So the dedicated people and enough resources and the sharing of responsibilities and naming the people or units that are responsible for carrying out this initiative to actually see them going into action. That was a very, very good comment. Carrying out these initiatives and making the strategic frameworks and also the soft solutions. What were the biggest challenges, maybe even unexpected challenges or resistance you encountered when implementing these?
Maybe I will say that I think first challenge was the engagement of people. This was definitely, and we knew it before we started, that it will be hard to motivate people, just because we know that we are all overwhelmed with different tasks, and to do something additional is not easy to talk people into it. And yeah, so it was not a surprise. And well, other than that, we also thought that filling in the inventory tool will be a challenge because of the Excel files and etc. But it was not that big of a challenge, but still it was.
Thank you, Jolanta. And Eva, please go ahead.
Yes, an unexpected challenge was that because of the COVID pandemic, Västerås built a stock of single-use plastic protective items for the elderly healthcare. And that stock, the items in the stock, they need to be turned over in certain times. They can't be in the stock for years. So that was a challenge to reduce the use of single-use plastic in healthcare. Is a big challenge because they don't buy new things. They don't purchase new things, because then I could say, oh, you shouldn't buy that single-use plastic, you should buy this reusable. But they need to use the items that is in this stock. And the city has decided that we need to have this big stock of different kind of single-use items, just because the the experience from the pandemic, because it was a big problem in the beginning of the pandemic because we had no protective items. So that's I wanted to do the inventory at the elderly care home, but we decided that it was impossible because of these problems. And I don't know what the solution should be. I think the solution is to have a sustainability controller just working with these healthcare issues. Okay.
Thank you, Eva. And I'd actually like to ask the question from the participants and also the presentators, like if you would have an answer to a reply to the question of what the solution regarding the healthcare and the single-use plastic could be. And if you actually have worked with this topic in your organization.
Maybe from our experience at Plastic Free City, I would say that this is an area where we might need to consider what Andrea said in the beginning, that we don't want to demonize plastics in and of itself and not make everyone suddenly become totally plastic free, but that in some uses it is actually very, very justified. We are currently working with a clinic in Hamburg on certain issues regarding, for example, improving recycling of contaminated material, like surgery pipes for breathing, for example. But I think it is very, very, very case dependent. So yeah, and you have to pay close attention to what the actual use of it is. I mean, also considering that in healthcare, it has been different, right? We have been doing it differently. But that also then again comes at the expense of, maybe that staff needs more time to disinfect or whatever. So I think these are very, there are a lot of considerations to be made, whereas I think there are a lot of other areas where there are really a lot of low-hanging fruits that can be implemented quite easily in comparison. So that didn't really answer the question, but just to kind of open this, I mean, plastics is everywhere or are everywhere, right? So I think what the BALTIPLAST project really showed us is that we can, we can adjust and take measures that are low-hanging fruits and can achieve quite nice results. And about the healthcare, well,
healthcare is not a low-hanging fruit.
Absolutely. But for example, there are also more and more startups around. Like, for example, I know that a lot of institutions are struggling with shoe covers, for example, single-use shoe covers. And there are startups now that are, providing reusable shoe covers, which are a really nice alternative. And so I'm very hopeful that also, we will have, by rethinking our processes and redesigning our processes, there will be more and more alternatives actually popping up that we might use in the future.
Perfect. So thank you, Eva and Johanna, for bringing up this topic. Not an easy one and not a low-hanging fruit, but something that we will be working on for sure in the near future nearby.
Maybe I can share a comment related to Eva's presentation. There was one nice picture, I think, towards the end, showing the engagement of children, and maybe for people in the room who don't really know how to tackle this issue of involving schools and creating nice activities for the children, with the children. I can explain a little bit more what we did in the project. We really tried to address this challenge of difficult engagement of schools by creating a community engagement action. So we really reached out to the schools in the Bergedorf district of Hamburg, and then we invited those classes to join for interactive activities at the University of Applied Sciences where we are working. So we could directly organize some nice workshops, some scavenger hunts, interactive activities for the children to discover sustainability related topics and to learn about the project, to learn together with us how to correctly sort the waste. As we have sorting stations across the university, we could ask them for different materials. Where does this belong to? Where does that belong to? And it was a real success. So we already had, I think, 2 series of actions during Christmas period and 1 sustainable Easter egg hunt this year. You can also learn more in details about these actions on the website, and you can see some nice pictures of the little ones having fun. So it can be also an educational aspect related to this. And besides educating them about plastic reduction, we also try to overcome this barrier of choosing the path of higher education. Even in Germany, there are still families in which nobody went to university, and then for those children, the idea of exploring higher education, it's somehow scary, and they are not motivated because they don't understand how this works. And by coming to the university regularly, they can already be familiar with it by the time they have to maybe make this decision if they want to explore an academic career or not.
Thank you, Andrea, for the comments and also the feedback, and absolutely agree with that. I can't see any more hands raised. We're going to end this webinar, so I'd like to thank you all for joining us today, and also that it's also inspiring to see such commitment to reducing the plastic pollution, and also on so many sectors, the initiatives you have carried out, the frameworks that you have been conducting, and also the implementational work and the inventory tool created in the BALTIPLAST project. So the recording will be shared on our platform, and we will also send the presentations to all of the participants during this week. And attached to the email with the presentation, there's also this very short survey. And we really much appreciate for every response that we get regarding on the educational aspect and also the capacity building that we are providing in these training webinars. So I'd like to thank you all again and wish you all a great rest of your week.